A few weeks back, fellow movie talker 3C hit 100,000 subscribers. As soon as I heard that, I wanted to share his story with all of you, so let's talk about it. So today, I'm honored to have Chris Parker, 3C, here to talk about his YouTube channel. Chris, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Chris Parker. I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/3cfilms. I just talk anything and everything movie related, from the news, reviews, trailer reactions. I've seen you on the platform for a long time, Sean. Really respect what you do. Happy that you have me on. Thank you, man.
As soon as I saw you hit that 100,000, I really did go, like, immediately just sent you the message, like, I want to, like, share his story. Because that's everybody watching right now. That's the dream. Like, everybody, when you start that YouTube channel, it's like this dream in your mind, like, what if I ever could have 10,000 subscribers? And what if that could happen? And you didn't hit 10,000, you hit 100,000, and just congratulations. That is amazing.
It even means a lot more to me coming from you, Sean, because I mean, we sort of came up around the same time. I remember when I was, at the 10 subscriber mark, 20 subscriber mark, and I would see channels like yours, and just you had that idea to round people up, to really bring the community together. And that's what I loved about you, because especially in the times we are today with some fandoms out there that are really toxic, it's good to have a community built of just nice people. So of course I was down to come and talk about this, and I still can't fathom how I've made it this far. It's a wild journey.
Right, exactly. You think just like 3 years back, we're just random guys in other people's comment sections with a little dream in our head, and it's like, oh wow, like even as you're talking about the fact that you'd be like, honored to kind of be interviewed by, it's like, from my perspective, I'm just a guy that it's like, I'm talking to someone else, like, wow, this guy's got 100,000 subscribers. That's awesome. I get to talk to him. So it's still pretty exciting for me. Like, on the flip side, dude, it still hasn't sunk in, like, oh, I do this full time. I'm still in like the honeymoon phase and the dream mode of all this. So let's go back to the beginning. When did you first kind of fall in love with movies, nerd culture, horror, all the stuff that you're kind of known for talking about? When did that kind of start for you?
So for me, it really did start at a very, very young age. I think it was because my father, he got a job at Blockbuster Video. And it was also during the transitional period where they were switching from VHS to DVD in the store. So every now and then he would come home with a box of just VHS tapes that didn't even have the covers on them. It was just straight up VHS tapes with just the titles on the VHS. And, well, he couldn't really afford a babysitter for me. So a lot of the times that box was my babysitter. And you didn't really have the internet when I was a kid. I couldn't see, okay, this one says Nightmare on Elm Street. Let me look up that trailer. You just had to go based off what it said, pop it in, and hope you enjoyed it. And I popped in many movies, and even if it sucked, I just sat there and watched through the thing. And I think there's something about watching bad movies that if you can sit through bad movies and be like, all right, well, I got something out of that, you become a film fan. So that's when it started for me.
That's so true. Like, sometimes I see people that like act like they hate movies when they're reviewing them, and I'm like, I mean, I just love movies, even bad ones. I just love watching movies.
Exactly. So that's where it all started for me, is getting that. And then plus I also had my dad, who was also a big film fan, and he would do the thing where we would be out at Walmart or something, and then he would just randomly come to his mind, you didn't see Indiana Jones? And I'm like, I'm your son, Dad. Everything I've seen, you've seen. And that's how it would be. He'd be like, well, I need to show you those. And the next day, take a trip to Blockbuster Video, rent all 4 or 5 Indiana Jones movies, sit down and watch them. And that's how I got enticed, I'm very much a 90s baby, but I felt like I grew up in the 80s because that's all I was shown to. It's the Back to the Future, the Indiana Jones, the Rocky movies, all that stuff. I was sort of born in the wrong time period, I felt. But I really owe it to my dad for making me the movie fan I am today. And then, of course, you have your dreams. You're like, I want to be an actor. I really thought I was going to be an actor, because Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, that movie set it off for me. I saw Jim Carrey act, and I was like, that's what I'm going to do. But you grow up and reality sets in, you're like, you find out how hard it is. And us, we live in Texas. It's even a little harder for us. And, you sway your mind. You're like, well, maybe I can direct, or maybe I can write. And then eventually you just go, I'm just going to be an accountant and go to school and do math. You know, that's how I was. Was that for you? Did you have any dreams like that, Sean?
I mean, I wrote so many like little fake script things back in the day. Had watched, like, read the book from Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez on how to like do it yourself type stuff. So I had so many things like that I'd worked on and had all the dreams of pursuing all that stuff. Then it was like, you know, I'm not going to move to LA.
Yeah, exactly.
Or some of it was all kind of fear-based stuff of like, well, that's for other people. Like, for so long, it was other people kind of pursue their dreams and stuff like that. So I never went for it, but absolutely, I've got all these like notebooks and files of all these ideas I brainstormed with my buddies and everything. So absolutely. So
yeah, I went through that phase as well. Oh, but continue.
So what was the transition to you starting on YouTube?
Okay, so of course, I don't know if you remember this channel, but this was one of my first introductions to the movie space in YouTube. It was a guy named Peter Rawlis, and he had a show called Movie Buzz. Have you ever heard of that?
I don't think so. I don't think I caught that one.
Yeah, it was in the very early inception of YouTube. I don't even think the man was getting paid for it at that time because YouTube didn't have, paying people on the platform yet. But he basically had a weekly 10-minute show where he rounded up the news that was going on, and that was my addiction. It was, just watching the news, consuming it, enjoying it. You grow up, and then you start seeing all these other people talk, like Collider, AMC Movie Talk, or John Campion, people like that. And at a certain point, you just want your voice heard. You hear other people's opinions all your life. You're like, I got some ideas too. I got some thoughts on this. I kind of want to be heard. Maybe that's egotistical or selfish to say that, but it's just natural. You watch that stuff because you have your own opinion. And the thing that set it off for me was Batman vs. Superman. Mm-hmm. If you remember when that movie was coming out, the community as movie fans was all over the place, whether we loved this thing, we hated this thing, were we excited for it, how was it going to go? And it was just this sort of bottle cap thing where I just had so much thoughts, so many things I wanted to say that I felt like I was going to explode if I didn't, that I just finally said, you know what? I'll put a video of myself talking about it. We'll just see how it goes. How bad can it be? I feel like I can be like these guys. All they do is talk. It's not that hard. And then
it is.
You find out it's way harder than you think. It is very hard. So that's kind of what set it off for me. It's just you get to a point in the community where there's something you're just that interested about. Superheroes and geek culture that you just want your voice heard. And Batman vs. Superman was it for me. Did you have a setting off point like that?
So, I mean, everything you said kind of tracks pretty well exactly with my line of thinking for years of like watching those same exact channels and Collider, John Campion, and be like, I've got thoughts too. And one of the ones I had was I had this active thought of like being in their comment section thinking, wouldn't it be cool to start the conversation that drives the comment section? That was like one for me, like the whole idea of having an ongoing conversation was just very interesting to me. And so then I had all these false starts. When Star Trek Into Darkness came out, I put up a review, and Now You See Me, and then like when Gotham started, and like 3 years of false starts, and then mine was a different movie that year that was equally volatile on the internet, Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters came out, and the reason mine was almost like the counterbalance, because it was like you had these people like, this movie's ruining my childhood, and then you have the other side like, that's just because you're sexist. And I was just like, I thought it was a mediocre okay movie. I didn't hate it. Like I was just kind of like right there in the middle. And so that was kind of interesting to me, that it was just that it wasn't an interesting opinion was what was interesting to me. So I was like, I think I'll throw up a review. I assumed I would stop doing it 2 weeks later. I didn't. Here I am 3.5 years later, still doing it. And so that's the crazy part, is you never know which one of those decisions changes your life.
Oh, yeah, you don't. You don't know what movie review is going to blast you off into the known or into the wider space.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, the thrill of it, like there's like a gambling addiction to doing this thing, It's just because every video you put is a gamble. It's you're rolling the dice and hoping that the YouTube algorithm or whatever it is that makes videos pop up in people's recommendation hits to you. And if that even happens a little bit from you're used to 10, 20 views, and all of a sudden you got 70, 100 views.
Yeah.
It was like hitting the lottery to you. It felt amazing. And I think it was those little steps that kept us going. But unlike you, I had my faults, and so I did it for like a good 6 months, and I was just reviewing movies. I even thought I was creative. I created my own rating system because I didn't want to just do the whole 10 out of 10 or an A, or because it just feels overdone at that point. Because you have to remember, this was 2016. There was movie channels of the plethora. There was one every day coming up. So it was like, how are you gonna stand out? And so I created the name 3C Films because I was going to base the movies off the 3 types of moviegoers I thought were out there: the casual, the cinephile, the critic. And that's kind of how I review them. I tell you, a casual person like your mom who doesn't watch all that much movies would probably like it this much. A cinephile who watches the big blockbusters or the occasional art film here and there will like it this much. And the critic who's, Jojo Rabbit, Lighthouse, those type of movies would probably like it that much. And that's what I based it off. I thought I was creative, but it really wasn't enough. And it was just months and almost a year of just getting 50, 20 views. And a lot of those views, if I'm being honest, was myself just refreshing the page, seeing like, did I get more views? Not knowing I was adding to my own views by accident.
My trick was to get my mother to also click the refresh button. So both of us are driving up the numbers.
And so it just led to me eventually going, this is a silly dream. I really thought I could be a YouTuber. I thought I could be a Jeremy Johns or a Stuckman, just sitting on my butt, talking movies, and then earning the cash, doing what I want. It really wasn't working. And I was also a full-time student in college, and I had a job to pay for my college and my rent because I was living by myself at that time in a very small, crappy studio apartment. It just got very depressing. I felt like a loser. I was like, I'm making videos on the internet talking about superhero movies. I'm trying to get a degree, and it was just very discouraging. So I had given up for about, I don't know, I'd say 2 or 3 months. And I think that was around the time that you were building up the other movie reviewers to do stuff. And I felt like I missed out on that. I was like, oh, dang, I should have kept going. Maybe because it was sometimes you do it alone, right. You have no one else encouraging you. And if I think I would have had you say, hey, you want to join in on this? I would have felt encouraged to probably keep going at that time. But what ultimately brought me back to it, because obviously I'm here, was just you just find the love of movies again. Right. It's just something that doesn't die. You as a movie fan, you just will endlessly love these things. And even if my channel now died, I wouldn't stop going to the theater. Right. I wouldn't stop appreciating things. And it was just that I built up that bottle up feeling to talk about movies again. And so I was like, I'll give it another shot. That was it for me.
I've had a few people message me being like, oh, I'd love to do what you do, talking movies too much. Oh, that's so me. I love all of that. I hear sometimes YouTube doesn't pay the best though, and so it's not worth it, like, because it doesn't necessarily pay the best. And like I hear that, and I'm like, just don't even start. Like, if part of your starting motivation is the money down the line, just don't start. That's not like, you have to be willing to do it for free for a long time just because you love it. This is just what you do. If any part of it is that you need to make money on the front end, it's the wrong path. This is not, because it is brutal, and it is like you'll put so much effort into something and get no reward. And then the thing that you think is crap, YouTube's like, let's just throw that one out there. And promotes it like the first for a long time, the video on my channel that had the most views was my trailer reaction for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And I kid you not, I had just done a live stream, picked up my phone and went, oh, the trailer dropped for it. I didn't have time to do all like the setup and everything for it. And so I did a trailer reaction where I had 2 phones and I held one up to the camera and I held one like this and watched it. That's how I did this video. And for a long time, that was the most viewed video on my channel. It's like, it's the worst video on my channel. Like, outrageously bad. And YouTube promoted that one. Hilarious. And then you'll spend hours and hours and hours working on something, and like, it flops hard. It's brutal.
It hurts. Mm-hmm. It hurts when a video flops, especially when you put a lot of time and effort into it in your soul, and then you just see no return. Mm-hmm. It's soul crushing, and it's part of the reason why sometimes, this job can be very difficult, and you just sit there staring at the wall like, what am I doing? It's like, even now at 100K, I don't feel secure. And that's not to discourage any future people out there who want to do it. It's just, it's a longer journey than you think. Right. I really thought at 10K, once I hit 100K, I'm set. I could start picking out my mansion. I'll have a Tesla. I'll be good. I mean, I won't have to worry. I could, just bump out these random videos and people will just watch because it's me, and it's not the case at all. Like I still worry every month if I'm gonna have bread on the table to feed myself and my lifestyle here. But along with that, like you were saying, don't get in it for the money. Because I'm not going to talk about how much we make on here. We are full-time here. I am. I think you are as well, right, Sean?
Yeah, I've been full-time since February, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that just has to do with where we live. Texas isn't that expensive of a place to live. The housing is relatively nice. You know, other than that, I mean, I'm not making more than a regular teacher's salary working on YouTube
Exactly.
That's how I feel. So you're not going to be, you know, making lawyer money, doctor money. You're going to be comfortable, but you're still going to have to manage and grind to keep that comfortable lifestyle, in my opinion.
You have to, in our corner of YouTube, I mean, you know, obviously there's people that are much larger than this, but our little corner, we're, you know, kind of the top people that started around a certain point in time. And like you said, we make about what a teacher makes. Like, it's in that ballpark, which is something you can live off of. Yeah. But that is not the glamorous life, and it is not enough to live off of if we lived in LA. We just couldn't do it.
No. I'd have 10 roommates. That's how much it'd have to be.
And like for me, the reason I can do this is because my wife has a full-time job, and so between the two of us, we're having a great, fantastic couple of years. But you just have to think about it in that, we've been working hard, hustling, learning, growing, and still, it's not like just money's just pouring in or anything. Like, sometimes people, talk to me like that, oh, I live in the dream, the crazy, glamorous life. I've got a fantastic life. Glamorous is not the word I would use for it, though. But so let's kind of make that transition. That's your story. Okay. You came back. What kind of changed that it went from 30 views, 50 views to 100,000 subscribers? That's a pretty big change there.
So the big there. So one thing, and maybe Sean has talked about this in the past, and then specifically if you're trying to do movie reviews, you learn things that can maybe put you a little forward. There's websites out there like advancedscreening.com or GoFobo. These are websites where any old schmo can go out, sign up, and get advanced screenings in your area if they're available. I found out about that, and it kind of put me a little ahead because you would see the movies ahead of when most people got released, because I was the guy who was going Friday night, Thursday night, and then reviewing a movie. And you kind of know in the movie space, that's a little too late to review sometimes, especially if you're a small channel. So getting that extra step to doing the research of how can I see movies early? What's what I can do? And that helped me out a bit. But there's one thing I want to stress, especially in the movie community. If you only do movie reviews, you're not going to grow at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, seriously. If you think, I could just put my thoughts on Jojo Rabbit, I could just put my thoughts on Charlie's Angels, you're not going anywhere. You're going to move like a snail, even slower than that, just because we're in that time where it's just too many movie channels. It's a saturated market, and you point out but what about Jeremy and Chris Stuckman? All they do is movie reviews. They've been doing it for 12, 10 years. They were the beginning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they started it, so they get a pass. They're the exception. And you also have to wonder, it's 10 years of being on YouTube. People grow up with these guys and listening to their opinion. You kind of grow a bond with them and only trust their opinion. That's why they still can review a small Lighthouse movie and end up getting close to 1 million views, just because those 10 years of collecting people. Right. If you're just starting today, you kind of have to get the idea of movie reviews out of your mind. If you're not creative enough, or not even creative enough, just thoughtful to do something different, there's just no room for you to grow. And that's what it did for me. It was one day I went to go see Hereditary. I went with my girlfriend who I live with and stuff, and we went to see Hereditary. I really liked it. I like the horror genre. And I came out and I was raving about it. But my girlfriend was just like, I have no idea what I just watched. I don't get it. I don't know what's happening. And I sat there and I explained the movie and the hints and the little clues that you could have gotten to what it was aiming towards. And then I thought to myself, I wonder if other people are going to be as confused as my girlfriend was about this movie. And out of nowhere, I just thought, I'll go ahead and do an ending explain. I'll explain what the movie was, see how that goes. So, of course, I waited till the movie was close to release, the Friday, because I don't want to be the a-hole who spoils everything for everybody. So I did that. I went to bed, and I woke up with 10,000 views. And that
Yeah.
right there, you jump out of bed
Yeah.
once you see that. You look at your phone twice, you're like, what? You have to remember, I was getting 500, 400 views max if it was a lucky break for me to get the movie review out early. 10,000 views, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I was jumping. I wasn't even making money. It wasn't even like I was excited for the money. I was just excited that 10,000
Yeah.
people clicked on mine.
Someone cared.
And-
They actually cared.
Exactly. And then that's kind of just where, I got a little bit of the start. It's like, well, I could do ending explains. A caution with that, though, because I'll admit, I have stopped doing ending explains from here on just because I don't want to bash anybody who does them, because I did them and they helped me out. In a weird way in the movie community, I guess it's frowned upon, or it's just considered cheap fast food content, because it really is just, you're just detailing a movie piece by piece, and for some reason, hundreds, thousands of people like to watch that. It got to a point where I realized I wasn't being creative. I wasn't putting my full effort into it. It felt like I was a machine just cranking these out, going, okay, so it starts off like this, by the end it means this, and you also have to do this because you like it.
Yeah.
If I'm making videos I don't like, then what's the point of doing this? Do you get that? Like, ever make a type of video that just gets bonkers views that you're like, but I'm not having fun making this content?
Yeah, so I don't think I've ever gone too far down the path of feeling like, oh man, I don't like this. I think I've pretty well done a good job of stopping before I've had, but I know exactly what you're talking. And so I guess the one for me was kind of trailer reactions. It was kind of the junk food content that I've been a part of a little bit. And like for me, I would never watch anyone else's trailer reaction. Like, I don't want to watch you watch a trailer, but there's a lot of people that do it. So for me, it's an opportunity for me to talk about the movie at the end of it. Do you want to watch me watch the trailer while I kind of go like weird faces, and apparently I move my eyebrows weird? That's cool, but I just want to give my thoughts on it. That is something I'm actually interested in. And then that became the easy way to get some views and some subs. And what you win people with is what you win them to. And I went, all right, do I want my whole channel to be built on people that want to watch me react to every single trailer that comes out? Or am I just going to react to the ones that feel on brand, that actually have something to say about?
Yep.
And so that's kind of what it turned into me. It's like, I'll react to trailers that I have something to say about. I'm not going to put on a show and behave as if I'm really invested in the Little Women trailer or something like some random trailer that I do not like. Just because I know there's a niche audience for it doesn't mean for me that I just don't have anything to say about it. Therefore, it's not content that I'm going to do. And then likewise, for me, it's like Marvel rankings are where it's just, teeing off. And then like I had all these things that people proposed to me, like, you should rank all of the Infinity Stones and you should rank them based on, and like I have this huge, massive list of videos that I'm positive would have been hit content. And I just went, for me, I would just be saying crap. Like all the ones that I do, even like sometimes people might think that, I'm just repeating myself, whatever. I have a thought in my mind that I'm interested in saying. That or like sometimes people to have issue with the fact that I update my rankings every time a new movie comes out. Maybe you're right. But that's work I'm willing to do because there's demand for it.
It's your brand.
It's my brand. Like, it's work I'm willing to do. And I like if there was a way I could just update the video and throw a new one in there, I'd prefer to do that. That'd be better for everybody.
Yeah.
If it just kind of kept adding onto the same video and I could just tweak it up, that'd be cool. But that's not how YouTube works. So it's the work that I'm willing to do, but like there's all kinds of stuff that like I just went, I'm not gonna just do this empty stuff just because I know people would click on it.
Because you could fall into that accidental thing where you just become something you're not that proud of, and I never wanted to fall in that route because I was getting to there with doing my ending explains because they were getting bangers numbers and higher numbers than I've ever seen. It was crazy and. It was nice, but I really was miserable making those content because I felt ashamed. I felt like I wasn't making stuff to be proud of. Anybody could have made a video like that, but I was just the one willing to ruin, I guess, my reputation in a way. So I learned from it that I'll do this as long as I'll build an audience off that. Now, what I mean by that is, so I'll do an ending explain, but I got to promise myself the very next day to do a video to show them why they should stay on my channel. And that's what you should learn from. So movie reviews will not get you anywhere. But trailer reactions, ending explains, maybe rankings, other videos that just happen to get lots of clicks that are, like Sean said, junk food content, you bring them in, but you got to give them a reason to stay. And so that was my experimentation. I would do an ending explain for, I don't know, it was a horror movie that came out, Pet Sematary. And the very next day I would do what I think of the Batman movie coming up. And they would get a different flavor from my channel that I did that. That's what I kind of learned, is you use these junk food content to build the audience, but you got to give them a reason to stay. If not, you're just going to build a junk food audience and they're only going to want to watch these lowbrow content like trailer reactions or ending explains, which, I mean, like Sean said, not to knock on trailer reactions, I just did one this morning for Black Widow, but that's because it's a movie I'm interested in. It's a movie I care about. I'm not going to do Little Woman or things like that you talk about. So there are some strategic things to do, and that was mine, was to do ending explains until I felt I had a sizable audience to continue what I wanted to do. And my last ending explain was on Child's Play that came out last summer.
And that's like kind of, I had a lot of those same sorts of feelings of trying to, when I realized, okay, comic book content, that's absolutely like where it's at. But I went, I love that stuff, but I want to be a movie channel.
Same.
And so how do I have a full spectrum of movie stuff that I cover? And like, there's boundaries on that. I'm not an indie guy. I'm not an Oscar bait guy. I'll cover that a little bit because I want to have a full kind of flavor sprinkled in there. But I'm very much kind of blockbuster nerd culture franchises. That's who I am. That's what I'm interested in. And so I just wanted to make sure that it never got too locked in on just comic booky stuff, because that would not be a future that would make me happy. Of trying to just force myself to come up with Marvel stuff to talk about that isn't stuff I'm actually excited about.
Because that is a problem I fell into when doing my channel. So like I said, I was doing Ending Explains, and I would do a different kind of video the next day to show what else I could do on the channel. And one of those videos happened to be, there was news on the Child's Play series. We're going to do a reboot, you know, and I did that, and for some reason that blew up for me as well. There's a lot of people that wanted that, and that's one of those things. It's a niche market. It's one of those subjects that just happens to have a huge fan base, but there might not be that many people supplying a demand for that fan base. And Child's Play turned out to be one of them. There's countless people who on the daily search up Child's Play videos, Child's Play news, and I'm a big horror fan, so I got into that. But I did make the mistake of making too much Child's Play videos where I just gained this only people who wanted to talk about the little killer doll or the horror movie. So when I would make a superhero video, or I would talk about maybe a little indie movie, I'd get no attention. I'd get no views because I had built an audience that was used to this specific content. So like Sean says, you don't want to box yourself in to one specific genre, because then that's what all you'll be stuck to. And it's almost like eating the same food every day. You don't want to talk about the same thing every day because you'll bore yourself, or you'll make yourself unhappy with the content you're making. So you gotta do those things to differentiate yourself.
And that's just with the nature of movies, that it's seasonal. So like right now, if my channel was just Marvel stuff, the last 5 months there's been nothing. There's been nothing. And there absolutely has been this massive dip. Some of that's, September is the dead zone for movies, but like that, if that's all you are, Endgame comes out and you're like, oh no, what do I do now? Or Child's Play comes out, oh no, what do I do now? Like you have to have something that's big. Or I know people that if you base it off just a TV show, the season ends, what do you do for the next 3 months? And so you'd want to have something a little bit more holistic, or more well-rounded. The one I'm playing through right now in my mind as I'm mapping out next year, as I'm trying to figure out those key groups that I have for my channel. So Marvel, DC fans, Star Wars, horror a little bit, little animation. So it's just kind of those groups that have big franchises, and think through how every single month I have a great piece of content for every one of those groups. Perfect. And instead of being like, all right, Black Widow just dropped, I'm going to put out 20 Marvel videos in 2 weeks. Like, okay, maybe don't put out 20, maybe put out 5
Yeah.
and take those other 15 ideas and spread them out throughout the rest of the year. And so then it's like it's feeding that all the different audiences every month, so that I'm still in their consciousness. I'm still kind of like providing what I won them with. It's still there. It's like what. Yeah. I still have it, but it's kind of pacing myself out and thinking long term. Like when you're on that first wave of excitement, you're just like, it worked. I'm just gonna go for it, and you double down on everything, and then you find yourself on the at the end of the wave, and you're like, oh yeah, like I want to keep doing this forever. So I need more ideas, and what do I actually like doing, and how do I match what there's demand for and what's satisfying altogether. Exactly. But yeah, like you talked about with movie reviews, I totally, like, you cannot make it just doing movie reviews. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that you can be satisfied just doing the junk food either. Like, you have to find that perfect balance of all the stuff that has meat to it. And like, your core audience wants the meaty stuff. They want to know your review, your opinion on stuff. And finding that right space and blending it all together, that's where I think the magic happens. Speaking of where the magic happens, let's kind of dive into practical tips.
Okay.
So if someone is just starting out with a YouTube channel and they want to do what we do, mm-hmm. what's kind of your advice, kind of your quick, and 3 great pieces for starting?
So one of the big things and the misconceptions, and you probably obviously heard this a lot, is don't worry about the equipment right now. Because you'll just start out. When I started out, it was just some old tripod we had in our closet and my iPhone at the time, whatever model that was, and then just a nice lamp to just light me. That's how I started mm-hmm. out, and I was getting views just fine with that. That's how I'd say start, but do your research. Like, actually take the time to invest. There's all these great YouTube channels who they do nothing but just tell you how to make it in the space. And actually take the advice they give you. I know I'm telling mm-hmm. you, my advice is go get other advice, but that's really what it is. You'll learn about...
Absolutely.
You'll learn about tagging. You'll learn about thumbnails. You'll learn about descriptions, which that's honestly like 80% of what will get your video going. Sometimes, as long as you have watchable content, then the big player is make sure you're putting a good description, a good title, and a good thumbnail. Again, don't fall into that rut, though, of being, how do I say this, clickbaity, or the wrong kind of clickbait. I mean, there's a form of clickbait I play around with where you have to be enticing at some point. You have to give them a reason to click.
That's the exact word I was about to say. Enticing, yes, but true.
Yes, not
to the
misleading.
Video.
So, like, if I ever do have an arrow or a red circle on my video, I make sure that is addressed in the actual video. It's not just something in the sky and never addressed in the video you watch.
So I haven't done too many with the circle or the arrow, and every time I have, I've had someone be like, "Oh, you went full clickbait. Just point." Like, no, I'm pointing at Black Widow's hair because I believe Black Widow's hair is a key to something inside of Endgame. And I was right. That's like, it absolutely was. And they're like, "You're just being clickbait." No. That's enticing. Yep. Like, it's something that makes people go, "Oh, what is that?" Exactly. But yeah, absolutely, I totally agree with you. Like, in my first month, when I kind of was like, I'm going to stick to this, I went out and bought a $30 course from a channel called Video Creators. Okay. I bought their $30 30 Days to a Better YouTube channel, and that's the foundation for everything I've done. It walked everything you mentioned about branding and tags and descriptions, titles. It's all kind of just the quick summary version of it. Yeah. That's what I bought in my first 30 days, and that's still what I would recommend to all of you to check out. And then, like, on thumbnails, also, like, they give perceived professionalism.
Yeah.
If you have a really crappy thumbnail, everyone perceives the fact that you have a crappy channel. Exactly. If you have an awesome looking thumbnail, people are a lot more likely to click, just like, "Oh, this guy looks professional." Click. Exactly. Maybe or not, but at least you got him to click. It doesn't matter how good your editing is, how articulate and eloquent you are, how funny you are. If they see that thumbnail and it's just a random screenshot from the video and you're like, doing this, no one will ever click.
Exactly. It is that. But I mean, also, we don't talk about getting the best equipment, but also do the best of what you got. Don't just set your phone up on your bed and then be 2 inches below the screen and then just talk really slow and be like, well, I think Iron Man should probably... entice you. Would you watch your own content, really?
Exactly.
It's not just throwing a video and like, well, that's it. I've done all I can. It's no, you have to, like, when I post a video, not an egotistical thing, I watch it about 5 or 6 times, my own video, because I'll catch myself. It's like, I don't like how slow I was there. I made a mistake there and I didn't catch it in editing. You learn from watching yourself. So You have to get used to seeing your own voice, hearing your own voice, which I hated in the beginning, but it's white noise to me now.
Right. Like, I mean, I've seen people that, you know, shooting reviews and they're like, I don't know why nobody watches my stuff. And the camera is like down on the table and they're like looking down like this and it's just shooting up into their nose. That you can see the ceiling fan behind them. Is like, no one that has made it frames things like this. Just stop and think. Look, like just basic strategy. Yeah. Look at the framing, how they position the camera on all the channels that you watch. Just look at mine right now.
Me and Sean
my head
right
is
now.
between two posters. Like it's positioned so that it has symmetry to it.
Exactly.
And like if my camera's slightly off symmetrical, I'll zoom in a little bit to try and balance it because it's just more aesthetically pleasing to have something that feels balanced out. And the space is all filled. Poster, lights, little toys. Like it
makes it pleasing.
And just think through those little things. And if you have to just have a plain wall behind you, that's better than like weird, awkward, unpositioned stuff. Yeah. But it's like, but I got toys behind me. Like, but is it appealing to look at?
Yeah.
And audio and lighting are the two cheapest and quickest ways to bang for your buck. You want to make sure you sound good because if it sounds clunky and scratchy, people won't listen. And lights, just turn the lights on and everything will look better.
Yeah, I believe it was David F. Sandberg, the director of Shazam. He said if he was given the option of crappy quality, good sound, or good quality, bad sound, he would rather go with bad quality picture and a good sound because the sound will make it the difference all the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just people can put up with like grainy or like I was doing 720 shooting on a webcam until June of this year. I was already full time and I was still shooting on a webcam, and no one ever complained about it ever. But if you start doing bad audio, or anytime I switched to the audio and used my phone or anything that was farther away, immediate comments that the audio quality dropped.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are your tips? Or actually, here's the question everybody wants to know. If like you were to try and just pinpoint what was the change of thinking that led to your channel exploding? What was that thought where you went, oh, and I think you've already kind of touched on it, but what was it, would you say, if for someone looking for that breakthrough moment, what's your best advice you can give them to try and find it?
Okay. So it was for me, like I've already talked about the movie reviews, stay away from those. It kind of is to be different, to experiment. You have to be willing to throw yourself out there. And trust me, I've done videos where I thought these would be hits and these would be winners and it's different. No one's doing this. And they fail. No one watches them. It's an embarrassment. You have to be willing to keep doing this. But the main thing that kind of clicked for me, and maybe you've heard Sean and I say this a while, this is a business. Your YouTube channel is a business. Don't think of it as I'm gonna be an influencer or a vlogger. Think of it, this is a business, and there's marketing involved with this. You have to do the research with your analytics and what's trending and what's not. You just constantly have to be absorbing this. So if you treat your YouTube channel like a business and almost you like a salesman, you have to be willing to sell something to the audience. And what I think I sell to my audience is information. I've gotten a good track record right now with news stuff. I see something news interesting that interests me, I'll make a video about it. I'll be like, oh, Robert Pattinson is Batman. That interests me. I'll put a video. But I make sure that I'm giving the people worth watching my video. So I give them all the correct information. Yeah. I give them the sources. And then you add in your own flavor for them to want to, watch you again.
Right. And that's, I mean, like even what you just described there, it's like, it's your passion, their passion, and you're providing value.
Exactly.
So it's like that right mesh of all of it. You're doing something that's helpful for them, that both sides are passionate about it. And that's where you find something kind of like that sweet spot inside all of it, that kind of can distinguish you a little bit. But like you said, we all have these ideas. We're like, man, this is going to be the one that's going to do it. No, that wasn't the idea. I have had so many of those that like I was so excited. Like I've got it. This is the one. Yep. No, that wasn't it. That wasn't the one. But yeah, you just absolutely like just trying to find that distinguishing thing, and it's not easy to do, and it's so much like trying. Oh, and that's right. You said talking about treating it like a business. One of the thoughts I had was like, if I was my own boss, would I give myself a raise or would I fire me?
Exactly. And
you can look at other people's channels and you go, with how inconsistent they are. Well, they just didn't show up to work this week.
Exactly.
Their job of being a YouTube creator, I'd fire me if that was me doing that. Like whatever, switching me and them. But just think through that. Like with the quality of your presenting, the way that you're treating your analytics, or tags, descriptions, consistency, like all that stuff. Would you give yourself a raise or would you fire you? And if you're being honest, you probably like, if you're not growing, if you're kind of struggling, there's something about it where you're like, I know I would fire myself. And so change that. And maybe like, well, I can't post 5 videos per week. Okay. But consistent though. Like what could you do? And then boss evaluates sticking to that plan. Yes. But that thinking change of thinking of yourself as your own boss and your channel as a business and you're trying to meet the demand of other people and you want to have a job that you actually enjoy, that thinking changes everything. It changes everything. Immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So for that person, so 2018, things just took off for me. It was like exploded. 2019, you're exploded. Like I'm like actually probably going to start placing bets with people as to when you're going to pass me in 2020. But for whoever that next person is that's about to explode, or maybe they've had that idea, they're on that wave. What's your advice for the person that's on the wave right now of like they're getting that momentum?
Oh yeah. So for that person on the wave, subscriber, don't obsess over the subscriber base, okay? Because there's channels right now who have less subscribers than me, and their views are through the roof. They're doing great. They figured it out. Focus on your audience and what they're demanding and meeting that demand. You have to keep riding that wave, and consistency is big. I kind of try to tell myself to do a video a day, but being with news and if nothing's going on, it's a little hard to do that. But you do have to keep putting in what you want to get out of it. Because if you don't, nothing's going to come to us. You have to keep riding that wave in a sense. You can't just enjoy the wave, which sucks. Because you won't realize you had a great wave until a few weeks back when you're scrolling through your videos and you go, oh man, I got 30, 40,000 videos, 3 in a row. That's awesome. You just kind of have to keep riding on with that. And I learned the hard way because there was this nice wave I was riding where there was like the Sonic trailer, there was the SpongeBob trailer, the Scoop trailer. And then when I went on a 4-day vacation, I came back and it felt like it was a ghost town in my channel. You can't appreciate when you've done a great video. You kind of have to go, video's done, it's uploaded, what's my next thing? And that's kind of the stressful part. But the stress is good, and it's sometimes what makes you make the best content.
Yeah, that's very, very true of like just really paying attention to it. But some of what you got to even mention there at the end, one of the things I'm trying to figure out longevity is how to have the right pacing in what I'm doing and learning to take time off and be okay with it.
Yeah.
But finding the right ways to do that and the right times to do that.
Exactly.
That's kind of the adventure inside of all of it. It's all kind of tricky. And for me, the thing that I'm viewing as kind of my next phase of learning and growth and all of this, as I just need to do a lot better job of being strategic with collaborations. Okay. That I've done like 40 collaborations this year, and almost every week someone's like, hey, Sean, you should do more collaborations. Like, what are you talking about? I do 40 collaborations this year. But no one's watched them because they haven't necessarily been strategic, and I haven't done the best job of like implementing and integrating them into things. And so it's like a bunch of work. I'm connected to a bunch of people, but I haven't been strategic in trying to do the best collaborations. And part of collaborations is that video, and part of it is just meeting a person that you can talk to and do life with. Like this whole YouTube adventure, you I'm just in a room at my house right now. Yeah. Like you're the room at the place where you like, and you're just kind of like sitting there, and you can just feel alone and isolated while having thousands of people watching you daily and commenting. And so finding those other YouTubers to kind of have a community with is really helpful and important for normal being sane.
Because sometimes you'll think like, man, why am I failing? They're doing great. Their channels are great. They're blowing up. They're doing good. You'll talk to them and they're just as worried and as scared as you are. It's kind of nice to know you're not alone. And they'll even tell you, they're like, no, you're doing great. You're doing good. Well, how do you do what you do? It's good to meet like people like Sean, or like sometimes I talk to Austin Burke, or we have Griffin from Film Speak. It's good to talk with these people because you can share ideas and comfort each other, and it's a hard time trying to do this and build up. And plus, they'll each have a different thing. Go ahead.
Right. It's kind of the thing. It's such a weird way to exist, being so public to people that you don't know in real life, and it's not very relatable to people that you do know in real life. They don't know how to connect with you. And so you have all these feelings and stuff, and you're like, it's so cool, like that I have all these subscribers, and it's I'm living the dream of all these other people, and so you're so grateful on so many levels for all of that. It's amazing. And it doesn't mean that you don't have all of these negative feelings still. Yeah. And it doesn't, like, everything that you think is going to be the author, like, you'll feel validated and you're the real deal whenever you hit this. That'll never happen. That's not the way humans work. It's just an arbitrary number. You hit 100,000, it's like, I've had this incredible achievement. I'm so proud of myself. I still feel exactly the same, but I'm so proud of myself. This is amazing. And, like, I meant to mention this earlier, but, like I go to these press screenings every single week, and still have imposter syndrome. Like, in my corner of YouTube, people look to me like, "Oh, you're such a big, that's like awesome." I just feel like an imposter all the time. Like, I'm just a guy in the comments that got lucky posting videos. Like, I'm not a movie critic, and I'm on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I'm certified. Like, all these things that should validate me, and I'm so proud of them. But it doesn't take away your insecurities. It doesn't suddenly make you feel whole and complete. You can't have that as your goal in life. You can't have money. You just have to love it. And if that's the case, then it's a really cool little existence.
Yeah, that imposter syndrome is for real. Because I feel like I'm a fraud sometimes. Because I've had those where luckily I've met like maybe one or two people at these advanced screenings where they're like, "Man, how do you do it? You're great. Can I take a picture?" I'm like, who am I? like, no. Right. If you only knew what goes into making a video, you would kind of think, this is all you do? How do you... It feels wrong, but in a weird way, it is still hard work. But I feel like an imposter all the time. I get exactly what you mean, Sean.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing that also, like, you feel weird voicing it because it's so cool that we get to do this. Yeah, so I don't want to be whiny, but I do have human feelings and emotions at the same time. Yeah. So what final thoughts do you have for us on this kind of YouTube adventure? If there's any final things, tips, advice, things that you want to throw in there as we kind of close this out.
It's possible. You can make a living off of this. You can make movies, your full-time job and passion. It's just a lot harder and different than you think what it's going to be. Because I went 3 years before I made a dime off YouTube, before I had serious people looking at me. And even now, growing my channel, it's still unknown what's in the future. For all I know, in 2-3 months, I could be back at my other job before YouTube. It's kind of scary, but it is possible, and don't give up. I did it with no one. I didn't have like a large Twitter account or a large Facebook base to just throw my videos on and automatically get the views. I literally started from the very bottom and had to build up. And if I could do it, some guy in Texas with no connections, no insight to Hollywood or how anything is done, and I did it all on my own from just watching other YouTube videos, you can definitely do it. So just don't give up, but also be realistic and reasonable with how you can get there.
Yeah. I double everything you just said of like, I started my first movie review website in the 90s. I had the little counter in the corner and everything. Got almost to 1,000 views by the time I shut it down. And I had blogs. I mean, I tried everything and failed at it. I had 3 years of false starts for just the prototypes for a YouTube channel. And then a year into Sean Chandler Talks About, I was about to quit. I'd hit 1,000 subscribers. I was like, this is awesome, but it's not going anywhere, and I need a job. So I was so close to like throwing in the towel. And then right at that point in time, I had that video where it just kind of clicked. Everything came together, and I went, I'm going to actually go after this. But yeah, it is so different than you think it's going to be, and harder. But there's all sorts of people that want to be pessimistic about it. Oh, yeah. Like I try and do little inspirational deals here and there on Instagram or my community tab or Twitter from time to time. Yeah. And a couple weeks back, posted something about going full time, and I had a guy comment like, you would have to be an idiot to go full time on YouTube right now. It's so volatile. And like, I read it and I was like, what? This is like the most pessimistic, cynical, and stupid advice I've seen in my entire life. Like, let's say my channel collapses tomorrow. Collapses. COPA hits, all ad revenue disappears, and the whole ecosystem of YouTube is gone. Worst case scenario, I just have to get my job back. I'm back where I was before. Like the worst case scenario is I'm back to what was happening before. Except now I have this incredible resume builder of like, you show your resume and on social media you had 100,000 followers on something in the year 2019. That looks really good. There's all kinds of people that want that expertise. And I just saw that advice. I was like, there's so many people that think that way. And it's so dumb. It's so ignorant. There's so much potential. You just really have to work it hard and keep learning, keep growing. And that's so awesome that you were able to do that and hit 100,000 subscribers. Congratulations. Amazing, amazing job. And it really is cool to like, when you see someone just take off like that and you're like, what are they doing? Like, let me pay attention. Like, what can I learn from this guy over here? And what did he pick up on that I could maybe pick on a little bit? And, but so very well done. Tell us once again where we can find you on the internet.
Again, just thank you, Sean, for letting me be on. I still can't believe I own one of these things. It's been a real wild ride. But again, I thank you, man. And it's people like you who inspired me to keep going because your channel's doing great. I'm looking forward to what you have to do in the future. You guys can find me at youtube.com/3cfilms or on Twitter at 3cfilmreview. It's been a real pleasure, Sean. Thank you.
Thanks so much for talking with me. Once again, congratulations. If you enjoyed this video, let me know down below if you'd like me to do more of these kind of creator stories, and keep talking movies and YouTube too much.